Ted.
Oh yeah, I got my dragon sitting up there.
Hey.
I don't know if you can see that. Right there. Next to Halloween.
Buddha. Buddha's coming
Buddha. Yeah. All right. Hello, everybody. Hello. Look who I got. Diana Boles.
Hi, everybody.
How
so
are
good
you?
to be here. I'm, it's a good day. It's the smoke from the Canadian fires are not too bad today, so I still have a voice. Though if I go outside too much, I won't be able to see because the smoke gets in my eyes. Yeah.
And how long has that been hitting you?
Well, that's been going on for more than a year.
A year. The smoke.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm. See, I thought it was bad when we got it for like 2 or 3 weeks where we couldn't go outside.
Yeah.
A year.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, we have bad particle days. They let us know that X amount of particles from the dust is in the air. Don't go outside. We'll mask up, stuff like that. But I can smell it at night when everything calms down. You can smell it. Now during the day, air is moving, cars are going, things aren't just settling on their own.
Yeah.
So it's noticeable from time to time, but where I notice it the most is in my eyes,
Yeah.
And then the ears get clogged.
Those Canadians, if they would just rake their leaves.
I'm telling you.
Right? All right. Well, we're gonna drop out of that lower level energy that I just brought us into and take us into St Germaine. Yes. So we were doing something. I can't remember what we were doing, and you started with St Germaine and like took it to a whole nother level of what I knew. And St Germaine has been reportedly seen in Mount Shasta many times. When we go up there, I know people who have said they thought they saw St Germaine. And, I know Kim Copeland is always talking about St Germaine, bringing in the master teacher, St Germaine. And I've never felt a connection with St Germaine. I go, okay, if he's a master teacher. And so I went to look on the Y files on St Germaine. So now I have a way clearer picture, and it's not where you think I'm going with this, of who St Germain is and what this is all about. So where do you want to start with St Germain? Was he really Merlin?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to take you. Yeah, he's letting you know. See? I hope my iPad doesn't fall off the tripod here.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to. Now I wrote these dates down. Why didn't I? That's the problem with writing too many notes.
Well, in this, before we get going, I want to just say what I found in the book, and I hope I can find it again. Why didn't I? I'm going to have to edit this now. Hang on. There it is. So, St. Germain, this is what I have in this book that was said. St. Germain once said if he were to talk about the violet flame, which he is in charge of, for a whole month, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, he could not cover all of its benefits. So this video is a microcosm of what this is all about. St. Germain.
We could do that though. We could keep the video going for a month.
For a month.
24/7.
24/7. Can we take bio breaks?
Oh, well, we might have to.
How
Well,
old is he?
let's say he got his beginning in 3,382 BC.
3,000. Say it again.
3,382 BC.
Wow. Okay.
And he ascended in 3019. He was Enoch first.
Okay.
And Enoch has a cousin, brother, tribal time, so the language supersedes what it is. We don't know. And that was Elijah. And Elijah became Sandalphon as they were both ascended into heaven.
Sandalphon, the archangel.
Archangel Sandalphon. They are inseparable, though a lot of people, disregard Sandalphon. They don't even think of him. But Metatron and Sandalphon must be together. Metatron is the purple light. Sandalphon was taken to heaven on chariots of fire, 7 tongues of fire.
7 what?
Tongues of fire.
7 tongues of fire.
So think about the tongues of fire and the apostles and how the Holy Spirit, go back to your Catholic roots and think about that legend, that story. That's what tongues of fire means, just little flames. Yeah, I get you. So they were prophets of their time.
Yeah.
And then they ascended and got their wings. Now, if we go and look at things now with the way Christianity has changed life in so many ways, they try to poo-poo all of that. Of course, they poo-poo anything that you and I would be discussing anyway.
Sure.
But as Metatron, he could come and go anywhere he wants. The same thing with Sandalphon. They're inseparable. Sandalphon is about the sound, the music that we hear. And Metatron is about the light that shimmers with it. You can't have one without the other.
So
right?
This is right. And this is why that when we put our intentions, our prayers out into the web, right, of creation, all this stuff, however you perceive us in this world, when we put our voice to, if we just think a thought, that's a vibration. But if we say a thought, if we put it in voice and sound, then it hits a higher level of frequency with Sandalphon.
Yes, exactly. And then both resonate in this shimmer, because the shimmer is what grabs some of us to listen in our omens and signs, right? And messages that come into us. And so this is where we start with his journey.
So a couple of things that you said that were really, really fascinating, because in my research, there were a lot of different sevens, going back to the 7 mighty archangels, even though there's more, but a lot of times they just say 7. There are the 7 mighty, I'm going to mispronounce this, Elohim, and their divine counterparts. And that goes back to, the first, second, all the way 7th ray. And that's going back to Hercules, Apollo, Heroes, Purity, Arcturus, Victoria, Aloha, all that stuff. So there's all the synchronicities going on with the inner earth, the outer earth harmonies of 7 and 12. And I'm like a newbie with this. I'm not one of these religious scholars because I don't think that it's that important for this time. But the message that is being sent is important for this time. This is just my journey. I'm not saying this goes with anybody else. So, okay.
You know, part of what started me on this deep dive is because I used to teach CCD. And I did it not because of being a staunch Catholic, but because there's a foundation and I'm a teacher, and I'm a teacher of littles, most importantly. So I first was teaching the first graders, the kindergartners, right? And that was my profession, but in through the church. And it was because I just wanted to get established a faith that you can decide on. And I wanted to plant my own little seed into these new brains from, now we're slipping out of the indigo children into the crystal children, right? So I wanted to plant that little seed. And then I ended up having a divorce. And after that, I went into teaching the confirmandi because now I could really utilize what I knew and
Teach
how
the what?
The kids that are old enough to be confirmed, the 12-year-olds.
Okay.
Okay. Because now that's when you start losing them. So being so art oriented, I was giving them crap to do all the time. Taught them how to make God's eyes, had them create an altar of their own, and they worked on it as a team so that by the time we got to confirmation, they had built this big cathedral out of mandarin orange boxes. Remember how they used to come in those beautiful crates? So I mean, it was just to have them interacting with each other and taking an interest in just learning, because there's history in there. Doesn't matter how true it is or not. It is the history of our foundation, everybody's foundation, because these people did walk the earth. So whether they were, special people that were really like you and me, hybrids from another land, or just people walking the earth. So when we go back to Enoch and Elijah and what they went through, Moses is said to have witnessed this. So anybody who tried to witness their ascension, that Elijah went up afterwards, Enoch went first, and then Elijah went up afterwards. And it is said that they both come back to earth, but they come back to earth to do their little St. Germaine things and then go back up. Okay. So that's where we start. And then I see, and I've been told through my channeling by Merlin, who's one of my major guides, and through research about Merlin, is that he was born in 447, but the Gregorian calendar came along and changed that so as to not lose the Arthurian tales, but rather make them Christian, Catholic, whatever you want, make them apply to the teachings of the church. Changed it so he was born in 1447. So who is he in between? When I started getting closer and closer to Merlin, he said, well, I was Joseph of Arimathea. How do you think all that magic happened? I know the recipe. And what's the recipe? The recipe is the Buddha recipe. What does that do? That puts one in a suspended animation for as long as you want to be there till the antidote is administered. So we have Joseph of Arimathea, and he knew the recipe. He was a tinsmith, and he traveled all over the lands, not just in Nazareth and Bethlehem and the Middle East where he lived. It is also said that he is Mary Magdalene's uncle. Now let's set that piece aside for a minute. So he travels around and he goes up to up into Tibet and gets the Buddha recipe. And that recipe does not sound delicious at all. You eat nuts and buds and the nodes on a branch as they just come, and you just break off the node. It's not a leaf or anything. SARS, whatever that is, I could never figure out what a SARS is. And then roots. Oh, saps. Saps and roots and berries and bark and fermented tonics and pine needles. And you ate that for 1,000 days. And then you would go.
Sounds like granola.
A little bit, doesn't it? Except for the pine needles. Although, you know, you can make pine needle tea. I'm sure you've uncovered that.
Some.
There you go. I know. My Chippewa friends
take
it all the time.
So he's getting this Buddha recipe where he can drop into suspended
animation,
maybe?
Yes. And so this recipe is used in Tibet and other ancient sites in China and all through that part of the world. There are Buddhas that there is a live Buddha inside of this temple.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just sitting there in suspended animation. The antidote hasn't been given to them to wake up, right? So he knows this recipe. Now here, let's go back to, is he really Mary Magdalene's uncle? Because I question, what if he's Joseph, the father of Yeshua? And how did Yeshua die on the cross but not die on the cross? He knew the Buddha recipe. And Yeshua's missing years, he was studying in Tibet and all through the Middle East and all through up and down and sideways. It's even said he was here in America at that time. And so there you go. So if we think of him as being the father of Yeshua, in those times, he would have been the caregiver of Mary Magdalene, because church, like it or not, Yeshua and Mary Magdalene were married. Mary Magdalene was first married to John the Baptist. And when he was beheaded, she took up with Yeshua closer, but they were already in a relationship because she was one of his followers. She is his major apostle at the time anyway, the first apostle. And so when Yeshua dies and he gets taken down and put in a sepulcher that is owned by Joseph of Arimathea, the Six of Swords in the Tarot represents Joseph taking Mary to France. And in France, there is this dynamic following for her because they know it's true. And who's in the bag at the bottom of the boat in the traditional Tarot? Yeshua. He's hiding. And at that time, she's pregnant with Sarah. I can't remember what the son's name is at this, but whatever. So did he become her caregiver in this whole charade? That Christ really didn't die on the cross. They went to France and lived out their lives. And we see this story repeated over and over again, right? When we see Merlin, he takes Arthur and hides him with another family. So this brings me to another thought, that Yeshua could really be the son of Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. Did your head break yet? I mean, anything is possible.
You got my head spinning here.
Right? And so so if we keep that in the back of our mind, you don't have to put it in the equation. Just keep it in your back of your mind. It doesn't make you doubt what your thinking is. It's just, oh my God, that is a possibility. Oh my God, it is a possibility.
Right.
And Herod going and looking for that other king, the son of Julius Caesar. I'm just saying, it's a possibility. But nobody has come and said, yep, that's it to me yet.
Right.
Right. So there's that. And then we now know that time is not linear. It's an org. So all of these things can be going on at any time, anywhere, right?
Right.
He can show
Well,
up,
as
right?
much as I believe, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Me too. There's too many time shifts in my own life where I've been walking in the streets of, and I really live in this 2025 year,
Yeah.
So after the life of Merlin, which I could go on about him for another 2 hours, we look at Da Vinci, especially when we do the adjustment to the calendar. So Da Vinci is born in 1452. That doesn't coincide with Merlin being born in 1457 if we stick to a linear timeline.
Right.
Also, around that same time, we have Nostradamus. Well, I have heard from Merlin. No, I was Nostradamus. I was not Da Vinci. I was Nostradamus. Nostradamus was born in 1503 and died in 1566. Then we have to look at another wise man, Francis Bacon. And think of all of them. I mean, Shakespeare.
And who is Francis Bacon?
He was King James, part of the King James movement with the Bible and the changes, and was very much involved in that court. Okay. And so that was Charles Stewart. And then you got Shakespeare, 1565. And then you got St Germaine, 1772. Or 1712, I'm sorry, 1712 as his birth. So if we look at it as a timeline, every 100 years, he gets tired of the body he's in, goes and eats that thing for 1,000 days.
Let me back up a little bit because I'm really confused. Are you saying that all of these people that you just mentioned are part of St. Germain? Are St. Germain?
Look at how many different names he had during the time of his birth, 1712, till his maybe death of 1830s. Somewhere I've got it written down.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay. So you're saying that Shakespeare was St. Germain? And they're even saying, did Shakespeare even exist? Some people are. They're saying, did he even write all this stuff? Was it somebody else? So that could
Francis
be
Bacon.
the St. thing, right? So all the biblical histories, I know you said that I'm Catholic and I should know all this stuff, but I really do not. It means I just can't keep all those dates stuck in my head. So, but I do. Decoding Shakespeare. Okay. Decoding.
Yeah.
They misspelled the word.
As as there's this codex in the Bible, which is really the King James Bible that they use, a codex in the Torah, a codex in Shakespeare, a codex in Nostradamus's writings.
Okay. So I was just clarifying because I was like, are all this real? Okay. So
I mean, he was known by 13 different names, depending on where he was during those 140 years that he was seen on a regular basis. He was
Yeah.
said to have died in early 1802 or something like that, but then he was seen 50 years later walking the streets of France.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and just to throw something out there, when I went to Shasta with this last group, someone said that they saw St. Germaine. So, and they go, I don't know. It was kind of weird. I mean, the whole energy was weird around it. And I'm going, well, that's Shasta. So you could blow it off and you could just say, you know, whatever. But I don't know. I'm not saying
spirit,
they did.
right. Spirit comes and goes as spirit wants to come and go. And as we live in this different time zone, spirit can come any way he wants, in a hologram or a physical being, because it's easier amongst people of this day. Well, some of us, most of us in this community. So if you think about how many different names he had just to get through the 100+ years that he walked this earth, that we knew he walked this earth. And it was at a time where his alchemy, I mean, it said, you know, he always dressed very well, but very plain. However, he was covered in jewels. And he knew how to, through his alchemy, knew how to create all of these things. And he would materialize them in the apartments and parlors of the kings and queens and you know, all the salons, as they would call it in France, right?
Right.
But that wasn't the only place he was. He was involved in politics, and yet people play that down, just as they played down the magic that was involved with astrology for planning a war or even a battle, to be sure that they're going to be the winners of. So astrologers were doing that work as well. Well, of course, he's an astrologer. He knows everything. He's St. Germaine, who has this long history of being Enoch and ascending to the heavens, taking his brother with him, and they're joined at the hip, because one can't exist without the other.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So we have all of that going on. His father was the King of Transylvania. Oh, now this is why I had trouble with St. Germain, because I knew that, but I didn't think of the Buddha recipe. I did know about the Buddha recipe, but I didn't think that that's how he was doing.
Okay.
But when I started putting this together, I went, oh, well, shit, of course. He's eating the Buddha recipe. He never let anybody see him eat, but he ate. What he was eating was that Buddha recipe. He never aged. He refused all the cakes and the wines and everything that everybody else had. And he had, I cannot think of this fella's name, but it was his valet who prepared the meals for him. He was the only one who ever saw him eat. And there's in one of my books, The Alchemy of St. Germaine. This is a good book also.
Okay.
And oh my gosh, you want to go some deep diving, that's the book to go into.
Wow.
That's the book.
Comte de St. Germaine. Okay.
Yeah, the Comte de St. It's by Isabel Cooper Oakley. Think of Oakland, California. It'll be easy to remember, right? Or Annie Oakley.
Annie Oakley.
Right. So if you think about him eating that, it's supposed to be eaten for 1,000 days, or how I found that recipe. And knowing that Merlin had the recipe because he put himself in suspended animation as well. And knowing that that's what Joseph of Arimathea used and what he gave to Yeshua, because they were in cahoots with each other to get him out of there. So when you start putting all these things together, and I can't help it, I think we were in a meditation, one of your guided meditation groups, and Danielle had talked about St. Germaine, and I had a Byzantine cross come in, which is like an Orthodox cross. And that connected all of this, and that's where the first deep dive began, with me speaking in public about this. So, you know, everybody can take it with a grain of salt if they want, or take it as this is a pretty good channeling, I think, because it just all makes sense. I have some holes in there. I want to know all of these. Who was he here? And in the 1100s, who was he? And, you know, what persona did he take on? Do you know that he was instrumental in politics, period? And he was instrumental in getting the Continental Congress to sign the Declaration of Independence.
Well, I did not know that.
He gave a speech and they signed. But it was all at the same time that the Franco-Prussian War was going on, and the Austria and France had signed an alliance against us. No, I'm saying it wrong. Who was it? Oh, England and Prussia were cohorts. They were aligned. And France and Austria were aligned. And France and Austria, because St. Germaine was French, was working for Louis XV, and all of this stuff was going on while he is setting the stage, like 1760 as this begins, right? Mm-hmm. So the Prussian throne was already tottering from time to time, and then finally they defeated Austria, right? And then he goes to Poland. Well, this takes me to my great-great-great-great-grandfather, because he becomes king of Poland in 1764. But they meet.
What did you just say? Your great what?
When I say I'm a princess, I really mean it. Only by the time the inheritance got to me, it was a pitchfork. Yeah.
That's wrong.
I'm descendant of the last king of Poland, who was aligned with Katrina the Great. Okay. They were very close. And they had some children together that never lived to see any kind of daylight or any life. Let's just put it that way. And
she was very, that Buddha recipe.
They should have. She was very instrumental in being sure that Stanislaus Augustus Poniatowski took the throne in 1764. His father died in 63. She made sure he got the throne in 64 for an alliance with Poland. Of course, you know, you can't trust Katerina by that point in her life. She's already out to get the throne because she's just taken it, getting close to taking it herself.
Yeah.
Or already had just been put on the throne. But Germain was there at that time as well. So this is how he enters all of these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good, because we need him to show up a little more at this point in time. So because, and I'm glad that he's into politics a little bit because, yeah.
Yeah.
So the book, I mean, since you were doing your show and tell, I'm going to do some of mine. Sure. This is the book that we started getting into it. This is the 7 Sacred Flames, and it's got a whole thing of St. Germaine in here as the 7th ray, as the violet flame. And so when I'm doing research, and it's got channeled messages from a Dama who is the from my understanding, and this is all channeled work, so you're not quite, if you want to like go, oh no, this is right, it's channeled work, so it goes through the human filter. So, but from what I understand it, Adama is one of the gatekeepers and or masters of the city of Telos, part of the organizing, one of the 12 seats. He's one of those. So take that with however you want. But the seventh ray in St. Germaine, his main qualities of this action that we can call on for help in today's spirituality movement, it's freedom, transmutation, transformation, diplomacy. I'm like, damn, can we use some of that today? Ceremony, application, and the science of true alchemy. So in just those words, speaking of where we are today, we can call on that violet flame to help us with our policies, with our diplomacies, with this action to bring us transformation, because that's all we're looking for right now.
It's wonderful that you say diplomacies, because that's St. Germain. He was the secret diplomat of all of this.
Yeah.
People will say he was there, but they won't say what he did. However,
Right.
there is mention, because in that black book, there is lots of letters documenting.
What black book?
The Comte de St. Germain.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about somebody else's black book. But okay.
Yeah, I wish I knew.
Go ahead.
Like, there's a section on his political work, and then there's the writings to back it up. Yeah. So knowing what I know about my family's history and how the king took the throne, I mean, even back in those days, it was an electoral. It was a pseudo democracy. It was a good old boy thing, because he took the throne after his dad died, but you didn't just inherit it. You had to be voted in. So, of course, there had to be an alliance going on amongst your peers within the circle, right?
Sure.
And he is my grandfather is very, very instrumental in developing education and making colleges available to everyone back in the day. He split up this huge territory of Poland into 3 different countries. It was Poland and Lithuania were all one great big thing. And then Ukraine and Czechoslovakia as well, as he split them up, all because the Tsarina wanted him to do that. And then he abdicated in 1796, and did all of that. And then he died in 1798. Maybe 1776, 96 is wrong, maybe a little bit earlier. But the Tsarina died shortly after all of this happened. And
who is Tsarina? Who is Tsarina?
Katrina.
Oh, Katrina.
Catherine the Great.
Okay.
So she died.
Goes by the name Zahina.
Tsarina, yeah, because she's Russian.
Okay.
So, at any rate, he becomes he's never allowed to leave St. Petersburg. What do they call that? Free to roam the city of St. Petersburg, but he's a prisoner. So he died in 1798. And I think that they had just sent him back to Poland because he was sick. So my understanding is he died in his own bed and not in St. Petersburg. He stayed in the Winter Castle, I think, is where he was held.
Okay.
Very interesting story, all of that. So because I already knew those bits and pieces, it was easy for me to accept that St. Germain had a hand in this.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. To me, in my unawareness of who Saint Germain was, and my not being able to really tap into that history, that knowledge book, that the book of whatever. But when I started digging into it a little bit more, I mean, I felt there was something going up to Shasta. There's some higher force, and it's just not the city of Telos. But I did feel something with Saint Germain, but not like I would with Adama or some of the other entities around there. But now, as I dig into it a little bit more, it becomes really clear.
It does, doesn't it?
Crystallized for me, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can just, it's like the mud is settling to the bottom of the puddle, and you can make some soup out of it if you're a 4-year-old.
And for me, it's it's a little selfish for me. It's like, well, what can Saint Germain do for me now? What can you do for me now? And I say that lightly, but it's the message that he brings that as I read more and more into this is so powerful. What he aligns with us, with all the 7 archangels, with all the 7 rays, with all the 7 flames. Each one of those is building on the other and complements each other. And it's interesting that he's the 7th ray.
And what's the color that we attribute to Metatron?
You tell me. Oh.
Purple.
Okay.
Right? The violet flame. He is the ultimate violet, right? With all shades in between and surrounding him. So
I should pull out my angel book before.
There you go.
You should have warned me, Danny, pull out your angel book so you know. And that's a great book too, the Angel Bible.
I just remember the name of that book is the Sephram. No, the.
What is it? I got it here.
Ratzael, the Sephram of Ratzael.
So this is the book that I was talking about, Angel Bible. But I mean, it's got all sorts of good stuff in there. I'm sure it's got St. Germain in here too, but I didn't look at it. But it's got oils, candles, astrology,
awesome,
sacred geometry. It's full of everything. And then of course, my angel cards.
Mine are upstairs.
And I don't know where mine are. I pulled them out. I don't know where they went.
I got Kyle Gray's here also.
Oh, his angel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That guy looks like an E.T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
And the book that I couldn't find is Zephyr Ratzael. So if you can find that book, that sums up all of the magic that is considered magic that we know isn't. It's just sacred geometry. That is the zodiac and all the shapes in between you and me, and how the human body is built, and what Da Vinci knew when he drew I can't say that word, Vitruvius Man,
Oh, yeah.
Legs around the circle, and everything aligns with the pyramids. And we always end up going back to the belt of Orion, and we always end up going back to the stars. And what's the color of Lyra that broke up into prisms? Purple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go to the rabbit hole.
Oh my gosh. So as we started this video out, we could talk for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for over a month, and barely have scratched the surface. And
Right.
so we kind of have an understanding of who this guy could be. You could believe it. You can go, oh my gosh, look at the lineage that he could have been, that can make sense. It kind of blows your mind.
Yeah, for sure.
It's,
Well, and
yeah.
here's his book of magic. The Most Holy Trinosophia of Comte de St Germaine.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, right. He brought it back to life. It was confiscated during the Inquisition in the 13th century. Who was he then?
What's that?
Who was Saint Germain then? Because this book is amazing. It's attributed to him for reviving it, absolutely. But there are 12 sections in this book, and each of those 12 sections represent the 12 signs of the zodiac. Okay. And then it is also explains how each one of those signs in the zodiac relate to the Kabbalah, and relate to alchemy, and relate to the Masons. Our founding fathers were all Masons.
Yes.
They knew all of this stuff. LeComte laid out on all the ley lines, laid out the map for the city of DC.
Yeah,
and
right.
I lived there, man, and I know there's so many sacred spots there.
Yeah, there are.
It's a travesty. It's a travesty. But we won't go there today, right?
Well, why not? Because, he was political. He brought St. Germain.
Oh, that's true.
He brought in transformation. He brought in diplomacy. So, that makes me feel good, because I even question, I go, what am I doing with all this low level politic reading? Because I bring it up, I lighten it up, at least.
Well, you do. You do. I love your show.
But there is some diplomacy that we can bring forth in this crazy time that we're in. So we're going to wrap this up a little bit.
Okay.
But what I want to say is, if you can send me the names of those books, I'm going to put them underneath the video. Okay. And I know we've answered everybody's questions on St. Germain.
Well, one more thing about this book. So it brings up all of those things, but it's about the mysteries surrounding them as well. But there are magic symbols and sigils in there. There is the Egyptian hieroglyphs in there. Oh, okay. Here we go back to Cleopatra. And then there's also some cuneiform. Well, here we go back to Zoroastrianism and the wings, the chariots of fire, right? And thank you, Danica. Anyway, so those cuneiform words, those baffle me. I mean, oh my God. But that's actually the basis for sigils, which I am creating a show on where sigils come from and what the sacred geometry is in those.
Sigils? I don't even know what that is.
It's like if you look at the zodiac, Aries is the head of the ram, but it's more important than that. It is a straight line from above to below, and it is closed reception. What he knows, what the ram knows, he can't help it. He keeps it to himself because he has to delegate, because he controls only this part of the brain, the body, only the mind. He can't move his hands. He has to send a signal to Gemini to get the arms to move. He's got to talk to Taurus to get voice out, let alone chew his food. So that is all interacted. And so, I'm going there too. Hope to have that ready for next week.
All right. Well, this has been eye-opening. This has been fascinating.
You're
deep, deep, deep.
And right? I mean, but it's not just me, it's channeled through me. Even this time that
Yeah.
we're spending here together, I am covered in chills because I know Merlin is doing most of the talking. Not that I ignore St. Germain, but he's my guide, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, sure. Sure. Yeah. There's yeah. Cool.
total
You know,
awesomeness.
anything else, Merlin? Anything else before you go?
I'm so glad we had this time together. Carol Burnett, right?
Absolutely. Merlin.
Yeah, him too.
All right. Well, thank you, Diana. Thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate you
Everybody,
all.
thank you
Okay.
for
And I'm
having me.
sure we're going to dig a little more into this later.
Yeah, we will.
All right. Okay,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Love.
Peace and out.